There's a place in Utah where the mountains still whisper the sounds of pickaxes and train whistles. Once it was a town built on coal, alive with miners, laughter, and the promise of prosperity. But when the coal ran out, so did the people, leaving behind only broken homes, rusting tracks, and the ghost of Utah's coal boom. What happened here, and why does no one remember Peerless? Peerless, Utah. The name itself once stood for excellence, unmatched, unrivaled. But now, that name is little more than a word carved into the dust. Hidden away in Carbon County, it was once one of the brightest sparks in America's coal-fueled rise. The early 1900s were a time when coal was everything. It was the heartbeat of industry, the breath of steam engines, and the blood that kept America alive. Deep in the Wasatch Plateau, seams of black gold were discovered and towns were born overnight. Peerless was one of them, a promise of work, warmth, and stability for hundreds of desperate families. In 1916, the Peerless Coal Company opened its first mine just north of Helper, Utah. Men from all over came to dig their future out of the mountains. Italians, Greeks, and other European immigrants found their way to the dusty valley. They came with nothing but calloused hands and hope in their hearts. Within a few short years, a community emerged. There were small wooden houses scattered across the hillsides, a company store that sold everything from boots to coffee, and a schoolhouse where children recited lessons above the faint rumble of the mines below. The air was always thick with coal dust, but it carried the smell of purpose. At its peak, Peerless had nearly 300 residents. It wasn't much compared to booming mining towns elsewhere, but it was home. The miners worked long hours, descending into dark tunnels every morning, their faces lit only by flickering lamps. Every strike of the pick echoed through the earth, another heartbeat in the life of the town. When World War I began, coal became gold. The demand skyrocketed and Peerless thrived. Trains lined up to haul away the black treasure, their whistles echoing through the canyon walls. Families could finally afford luxuries, radios, better clothes, even small celebrations at the town hall on weekends. The laughter of children mixed with the rhythm of shovels and the hum of machinery. But prosperity, as always, is temporary. By the 1930s, the mines were beginning to thin. The veins that had once yielded wealth started running dry. New technology and cheaper operations elsewhere made small towns like Peerless expendable. The Peerless Coal Company, unable to compete, began cutting wages and letting workers go. The once busy train yard grew quiet, and the mine entrances that once roared with life became gates to silence. Some families held on, believing the company would recover. Others packed their belongings and left without looking back. The school closed, the store shuttered its doors. Even the church, where prayers once rose like coal smoke, fell quiet. By 1950, Peerless was gone, a town that lived and died in less than half a century, consumed by the very fuel that once sustained it. Today, if you travel through Carbon County and take the narrow road north of Helper, you'll find almost nothing. A few concrete foundations, rusted rail lines, and fragments of brick buried in the dirt. The desert has reclaimed its land. Sagebrush grows where families once stood. The wind moves through the valley like a whisper, carrying the faint memory of what used to be. Some visitors swear the place still breathes. They say at sunset, when the light hits the hills just right, you can almost see the shadows of miners trudging home, their figures fading into the haze. Others say you can hear the clank of tools, the distant echo of a train that will never return. But Peerless isn't just a ghost story, it's a warning. It reminds us of how easily we build our futures on fragile ground. A single industry, a single resource, a single hope, and when it collapses, entire communities crumble. The people of Peerless gave their lives to fuel a world that eventually forgot them. One of the last known residents, an elderly woman named Maria Angelo, once said in an interview before she passed away, "We thought the mine would last forever. My father built this house with his hands. But one morning the whistle didn't blow. That's when we knew it was over." Her words hang heavy in the air, a testament to the countless lives buried under time and dust. As the decades passed, Peerless faded, even from maps. It became just another lost chapter in America's industrial story. A few historians and ghost town enthusiasts still visit, documenting what little remains. But each year, erosion and weather wash away another piece of its memory. Soon, there may be nothing left at all. Yet, in some ways, Peerless lives on, not in structures or records, but in spirit. It stands for every forgotten community that once powered a nation, every town that rose for a purpose and died when that purpose vanished. Walking through what remains of Peerless, you can feel the weight of history pressing down. The earth still smells faintly of coal. A rusted wheel lies half buried, once part of a machine that moved mountains. And in the distance, the mountains stand silent, witnesses to both glory and grief. What makes Peerless haunting isn't its ruins, it's the silence. The feeling that the people who lived there were erased not by time, but by progress, the same progress they helped build. Peerless, Utah, was once called the town that worked for the world. Now the world doesn't even know it existed. But maybe that's why stories like these matter. They remind us that no town, no life, no piece of history should vanish without remembrance. Peerless isn't gone, not completely. It lives in the whispers of the wind, in the coal dust that still clings to the rocks, and in the stories we tell to keep its memory alive. Should towns like this be preserved as a piece of history, or should we let them fade back into the earth? Tell me what you think, because if we stop telling their stories, maybe that's when they truly disappear.